Hello and welcome to Take a Beat. My name is Tirza and I'm the digital pastor here at IES. And Take a Beat is an IES podcast where we invite you to take a little break, talk about things that matter, only to launch ourselves back on the beat. So here today we have very special friends of mine. So I'll just kind of introduce them, but they can introduce themselves as we go. But this guy right here, I actually wanted him to be here for the Inside Out stuff.
Oh yeah.
But someone was away. So this is Titus. You want to introduce yourself a bit?
Hi, my name is Titus. I'm one of the staff at IES. I am the ministry coordinator at IES Teens, and so I'm glad to be here finally, back after my whole story.
Oh, yeah. The last time he was here, he shared a little personal story.
Check that out on the episode. I don't remember when, but
It's the one with your sister and with
Yeah.
Pastor Misha.
yes.
It's something about
Disney World.
Disney World and poop.
Oh, come on, you didn't say that part.
No, I need to give it at least some things that would make people want to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it now.
I know, me too.
Okay, so this is Brandon.
Yes, hello, I'm Brandon. I am not on staff.
He wants to make it clear.
Yeah, but I do volunteer here at IES, mostly in teens.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I am also on staff, and I coordinate the Bible classes here.
This is going to be my plug for you. If you want to be part of a Shema Bible discussion,
That's right.
please join us. Actually, it's a lot of fun. And so I'll put the information down in the description. All this time, I've been plugging
Just plug.
Bible
That's
discussion.
right.
No, like nobody's business. I've been recording different things and just talking about Shema Bible discussions.
Thank you.
You can pay me later.
Okay.
So, and this is Latya.
Hi, I'm Latya. I'm also not on staff. I am interning here, and I just graduated from teens.
She's about to go into adulthood.
Yes, I'm swimming in.
All right, so today the topic is actually really interesting. Weirdly so. So a while back we had a bunch of, for me, this was my experience, a bunch of teens just like surrounded me and asked me, so PT, if you are, what was the question even? If you were
Stuck in the wilderness.
No? Was it?
Oh,
no, but that's for guys.
That's for guys,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, for me it was like, PT, if you were stranded in a jungle and you can be there with either a man or a bear, who would you pick? And I was like, eh? But apparently these teens were going around. So,
Yes, they were.
So do you all know what the context of this? What started this?
I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know.
I'm also not on TikTok.
Is this from
I'm also
TikTok?
not-
Pretty
It is.
sure
It
it
is
was.
from TikTok.
Can you
Verify.
shed light on this? Do you know what it is?
Yes, well, I only know it from, then I guess I only know it from the men's perspective, where the story is like this. If you have a daughter, right, who's still very young, like between like 3 to 5 years old,
Oh, really?
and she was stuck in the jungle, in the forest, all by herself.
Can I just say, if you have a 3 to 5 year old daughter and she's stuck in the jungle by herself, it's your fault as parents.
That's great.
You've done something wrong.
Don't blame the bear.
So that's how the story goes. If you have a daughter who's stuck in the middle of the forest or jungle and she's still very young, would you rather have her come across a bear or an unknown man, a man that you do not know?
And so, have you been asked this question or a version of this question?
Oh yeah.
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 And so, what were your answers?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that's true. I guess I can start. Well, I didn't actually get the full context of the daughter's age, but for me, in my sense, if I had, obviously I don't have a kid, but if I had a daughter, I would have said, I still say, better for them to stumble upon a man, a stranger, because at least for me, maybe going straight into perspective, I think at least there's a chance of survival in my head. Because either they die alone or at least there's a man that
die together.
yeah, something like that. I don't know, or maybe like he's a survivalist. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my perspective for now.
We can go around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I said I answered a man too. I guess I just thought that why would you even consider having a bear instead of a man? Because at least I can talk to a man. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, bear, don't eat me. You can't rationalize this. So yeah, for me it wasn't a debate, but then turns out it is.
Yeah, apparently.
It turns out it's important not to make
get
a
a
podcast. Sarah,
For me, I would choose the bear, hands down.
the question is going to be why?
Why?
Right now?
Right now?
Yeah. We're getting into this.
Okay.
I think for a bear, right? A bear will only act out of instinct,
Sure.
right? And the worst thing that could happen is you could get mauled by the bear.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolute worst, yes.
Men are capable of much, much worse. So for those reasons, I would choose the bear.
Okay, Latya.
I would also choose the bear.
Why?
When I was asked the question, it was in the perspective of myself, right?
Yeah.
Not of my 2-year-old daughter. So I mean, for
You
me,
just decreased this girl's age.
2 to 5, wasn't it?
3 to 5.
Oh, 3 to sorry,
like that.
whatever. I know I'm not.
Classroom and kids.
I'm not good with numbers. Okay, so I would choose bear because I agree with what Sarah said. I the whole thing is like I read mostly the reason why people choose bear is because you can trust that a bear would just act like a bear, where it's like with a man you can't 100% trust that the man would act humane. You don't know who it is. It's you know, and so yeah, it's mostly out of fear.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about this? So, okay, so the idea.
Wait, what about yours?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You can't exclude yourself.
So, okay, fine. Mine, or what I actually told some of the teens was, like my gut reaction would be bear, but I want to believe that there are good men in this world. That was my that's the long part of my.
Yeah,
For the bear to be
answer.
Paddington Bear.
that's a good one.
You know I like Paddington Bear.
Oh yeah.
Yes, because Paddington Bear would have marmalade sandwich on him. But anyways, like I wanted to ask, like, when you hear all of these other people, mainly girls or women, saying, "Oh, bear, hands down," like how do you guys respond to that?
That's just 3v2 right now.
It's like,
It's not.
Yeah, I was kidding.
No, but that's
we're on the
why.
same team.
No, why I wanted to have it. This is the reason why I got these people. There
Okay.
are other people I could have brought into this conversation that would make this into a full
Debate.
Like we can be like trashing each other. That is not what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
No.
Because I think like what I wanted to do is to have a bit of discussion of like what are some of the things that we maybe have experienced or things that we've processed through this world and life that contributes to our answers.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very much in light of what we see based maybe in like news or just like in general or like our personal experiences with people. The only thing, most of the people in the world have been hurt by people. So to
Not a
be
lot of people have been
hurt by bears. That's true. We meet more people, but then it's justified, I think, because a lot of people, have been hurt by people. So the idea of being stuck in the wilderness with another person was like, okay, they could be good, but what if they're the other one? and it's also justified because like there are pretty sick people out there.
That's true.
And,
I think the other thing too is as men, and I happen to know these two are great guys. That
praise
they're
God.
compliment right there. But how do you feel when like, there's a bunch of girls saying, "Oh, we'd rather trust a bear than a guy"?
Because when I first was asked that question first, it was a bunch of teen girls
Yeah.
asking that question.
Yeah.
So it was,
Same.
it was kind of like
It's like-
already kind of they already know the
Mom.
answer. Yeah.
they're like,
So
no,
it was kind of
you're wrong.
Yeah. But at least first reaction to hearing that at first for myself at least, it feels offensive. Maybe if that I can use that because it feels kind of like as a man as well. Then have I been seen that far? You know what I mean? Have I been seen so negatively? And maybe that's the first reaction. But obviously, I don't think that is true. But that as a gut reaction, it's kind of like, okay, oh shoot, I'm like,
You want to fight?
yeah, am I evil now? Like, is this how it is? But I think as well, like, I think the coming into this conversation and having talked about this several times now, it does come and give into perspective where it's kind of like, I understand there's also, like what Brandon was saying, there are really bad people out there. And we know as well that there's a lot of bad men out there. And I think for me, it's just kind of like, I get that, but I also see that as a subpool of the rest of humanity, where there is so much more. And my hope always is that people, whether men or women, do things for good, and they have that side of them.
Yeah.
And in this case of survival, I would hope they would use that part of humanity, right? Because they're both maybe, I don't know, maybe the person who's in the woods is also trying to survive, and then finds a kid there. You know what I mean? And so I guess extending that. So that's kind of like my deeper perspective as well. But at the same time, like initially, like I feel like I would be offended at first. I feel like, oh shoot, like you know, I feel bad for all men now. But at the same time, I get it. Like there's a lot of bad men out there.
No, my first impression was more because I think we were asked on the same week or no?
Maybe.
I think it was all like kind of concentrated
Yeah.
in the same like
Same-
general time.
But what
and I think
my
it's
first
also the same mob of girls.
yeah.
I think so.
That's funny.
But yeah, my first impression was like, I don't know, this sounds not mean or like who hurt you?
Oh, that too.
No, I was like,
That's
I felt bad because like the fact that you want to convince me to choose bear, it's like, wow, like what happened? Like
Yeah. That's true.
that was my thought.
So for the ladies, like what are your thoughts on that?
I think that just goes to show how men don't understand and will never understand the female existence and what it means to be a woman and to be placed in the shoes of a woman. So to answer your question, Titus, have I really been seen that bad? The answer for most women is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I was gonna say that.
Absolutely is. And to answer your question, who hurt you? Men.
Yeah.
Right. It just shows that divide. This just how the relationship between men and women are just it's just a very broken relationship.
Yes.
Right. And I think it also stems from the fact that men are supposed to be seen as protectors, right? But in this scenario, obviously women view them more as a danger than someone that will protect. And that's just how the world has unfolded, and that's how women see men now. It's a very broken image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I could also say that it's sort of a little bit of a like self-protection as well. It's something that either we've created for ourselves because we have had bad experiences, or we have seen other people go through like getting hurt, and so we have then learned from that experience, or it has been passed down from parents, grandparents, and it's from like generational of women telling you like, oh, be careful if you're going out at night, going out on your own.
Yeah.
Like I lived in Seattle and worked with a lot of like homeless people, like, and do stuff in like downtown area, and I carried pepper spray with me, and I had like all of these measures of, oh, I needed to keep myself safe. I needed to have like a safe word with my like roommate. And things like that. These are the reality of being a woman. And so I think for me, thinking about this, it's also it's like something that maybe like we've learned, whether from experience or from other people or from parents as well.
I think even going past experience or even what we've seen from other people, I think statistics and history also tells us that. Like gender-based violence is one of the highest, right? Men against women, such as sexual assault, harassment, even murder. They're very high statistics for gender-based violence.
This went serious real quick. Any thoughts, Latya?
No, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with the experiences with the gender-based violence. I think now more than ever, because of like the internet and because of I don't know, like there is a higher, I don't want to say like a trend, but it is more common now for women, both in a good and a bad way, to find solidarity within each other in that sense. Because now that we're a lot more connected, I feel like there's a lot more information, and I think now that the world is kind of progressing more modernly in the way that like women are more, they're kind of stepping up to take more leadership roles, and it's kind of becoming a whole phenomenon. It becomes a bigger discussion, whereas before it would have been kind of swept under the rug because we just didn't have that much power, right? And so I think that it's a very nuanced topic, but it is all about perspective, and the perspective of women and men are just different. Like there are things that you guys experience that we would never understand, and this is one of the things that we experience that I don't feel like you guys could understand unless you could be in the shoes.
And I think that's also something that Sarah said, right? That like the female experience is something that the men will never understand. But we flip it, and the male experience is something that we don't even, I can't even
imagine,
like wrap our minds around it.
For sure.
Because we always see things through our perspective, our experience, and so that's part of why I wanted to have this discussion, just based on this whole like man and bear debate. I wanted us to have with very safe people that I trust to have these conversations about like, what is the female experience and what is the male experience too, being, you know, like I would say some of the like good guys in a sea of some questionable ones.
Yeah.
I can see you thinking. Are you thinking?
What are you thinking, Titus?
I don't even know how to express what I'm thinking per se.
I think what's important is
This is him. Save me.
it's like someone better something to say something. But yeah, I think this is also like a very much a social issue that we're encountering, and I think there are also very many other social issues that happen around our world, like with, I guess, like political things. It turns into politics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like with gender inequality, gender conflicts, and all these things. And I think I can relate this also to maybe other ones that cause divides. Maybe people on gun violence or people on racism. Like there are two sides of it. And I think what's important for us to think about is how do we see this in light of God's word and biblically.
I was waiting for someone to bring in like God's word as well.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we look into these issues, a lot of time from the world's perspective, we want to prove somebody's right or choose a side or bring Jesus to our side. Like, Jesus would have said this. Jesus would have said this. But what do you think would I wouldn't say whose side would you think Jesus would be on, but I want because
he went there.
because I don't think he wants people to choose sides, because that's what he did too, right? He was very much a Jew, but also loved sinners, and like he could be a rabbi or Pharisee and worded with the Torah, but then he also
Didn't observe Sabbath laws.
yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that he never took sides too, but he sided with the truth because he was truth, and
Well, let's talk about it. Like, how would Jesus talk about this debate?
I'm reminded of when the Pharisees, I think, were talking to him about taxes, about Roman tax, and then Jesus was kind of like, do what's due to Caesar, and then I forgot what the other part was. The second
Give
part.
unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto God
Yes.
what belongs to God. That one.
I feel like it's kind of the same way where I think our notion of Jesus is also kind of, or at least their perspective at that time too, was like the Messiah was supposed to eradicate like the kingdoms and like bring forth like the Israelites up, right? And the perspective was like to free us and free them from that. But what Jesus came down to do was not that, or he didn't do that in the way they think they were wanting it. But he did it in a way of like, well, there are some of you who are going to be slaves. There are going to be some of you who these things are happening. You are under Caesar, but what I'm giving you is a perspective that like you become a child of God, even in those realms. And so he didn't eradicate slavery. He didn't eradicate those things at that time, but he gave the new perspective of being a child of God. And I think for me, for me, when I think of this conversation as well, I feel like he might be on that lane as well. It was kind of like where I think he would challenge us to be that in our own ways, in our own like lives. Like as a woman of Christ, what would you be like? As a man of Christ, what would we be like? And living in a world where all of us are trying to live together that way. Yeah. I think that's what I would see it as.
Also, before the others would like respond to that, in my head I was like, also as parents, don't leave your children in the jungle. Yeah. What are you thinking? But any thoughts?
I don't see how this is a fair question to throw at the Bible or even at Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like Latya was saying, this is a issue of perspective.
Yeah.
And I think Jesus would calmly and gently kneel next to both the man and the woman and understand both perspectives.
Yes.
So it's not like there's one truth to this story that we're looking for.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it is important for us to lean into our understanding or of even our own experience. Because even like for me, for like the things that I've gone through and my interactions with guys or things that has happened to me, and kind of wrapping my mind around it, like I needed to process through that too, because I think it is unfair for me to also just say, oh, like man is bad and I'm just not going to do anything about it because this is my experience, therefore this is the truth.
Yeah.
And so I also understand that I can't do that. I mean, I can. I don't think that would be the healthiest thing for me even. So because I think I've mentioned this to some of you, but I had an experience. This sounds kind of meta, but no. I had an experience where I went to a different country with a bunch of people, and one of my good friends, who's a guy, and like people there completely didn't see me. Like I was invisible, but they saw him, and at that point, like I was the one who's like on staff or like the leader of the ministry, and no, like I was completely invisible, and I was like, oh, and then like I was upset. I think I don't know if I also communicated really well, but he just couldn't understand where I was coming from, and And then I got upset at him because he wouldn't understand where I was coming from. And then like I think after some time and just me processing through it, I realized like, oh, he's never had this happen to him.
Yeah.
Like,
For
and
sure.
a part of me also being gracious to my good friend is for me to understand that part of why he can't fully understand my frustration is because he's never been in that position before. Have you ever had to kind of process through that?
Yeah.
Say more about it, just yeah.
No, I think that's the whole thing with the whole concept of man or bear. I don't feel like was proposed to be like a debate. I don't think it was ever supposed to be man versus bear. I think it was like a cry for help. I think I genuinely think
Somebody held that little
it was an analogy to prove a point about how many
Yes.
women would pick bear.
Yes.
It was never supposed to be like this, like, oh, it would be because there are this many men and this. It's not that. This is just us trying to be heard. And I feel like when you put Jesus into the picture, I completely agree with what you said, Sarah, is that he would understand. Because that's all that, I feel like that's all. I know that there are some people who would probably just jump on the trend or whatever, but I feel like at its core, like it is a cry from those who have been hurt. And I feel like if Jesus was brought into the picture, he would understand that. And he would comfort. Because that's what he does.
Yes. And to further this point that you're making, I have a question to throw at the ladies.
This is why she's sitting right there.
Would your answer change if it was a bear and a woman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see the point?
No, that's how I first saw the question. Not a kid, but it was a woman.
No.
No.
Instead of a man,
Oh.
A
Like if
bear
you
or a
replace the
woman?
man, yeah, a bear or a woman. If you were stuck in the jungle,
okay.
a bear or a woman.
Okay.
Or if they give her daughter, I guess.
would you change your answers?
Yeah.
Yeah? And why is that?
I wouldn't.
I think
Sorry.
it's because like even physically I'm less tense with picturing like a woman there. Then again, and I'll be completely honest. Like I've been in public places where it's like getting dark, and then I'm at a bus stop. Obviously not in Jakarta, and then there's a guy there, and dude could be like a pastor for a white hair, and then like I just immediately like tense up.
Yeah.
And I think even for me, like putting a different picture of if it's a bear and a woman, I was like I immediately like relax, like woman.
Yeah,
they might get all together, but it's
Yeah. It's all about perspective. The woman understands. You know what I mean? Like the question was posed because of the fear we feel when it comes to men, because of what's been drilled into us, because of what we've experienced, because of all of that. So when it changes into a woman, that changes. You know what I mean? The answer changes. The whole purpose of the question changes, right?
Yeah.
With when you look at it like from afar, like it makes sense that it would sound weird because like, oh, they're both human, they both have the same like thinking capacity, they could both manipulate, they could both blah 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 whatever. The thing is, with experience, with statistics, with the perspective of a woman, it's much safer around other women.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would change my answer too, because if I saw a woman, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel safe. It's okay. You know, women are known for being the
Nurturing.
motherly, nurturing.
I totally see that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Would you guys change your answer? It was with man and woman.
Bear. But that's really our whole point.
Yeah.
I don't think I would change. I would still like if it was.
I'd still pick the person.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but like I like the point when you were talking about like the man at the bus stop, because I kind of feel that too. Like if there's a guy at a bus stop and I'm the only guy, I would sit farther away or something. No, right? No, right?
If it was a woman, would it be different? Would you guys get
I mean, I wouldn't sit closer, but then I wouldn't feel like
Danger.
a threat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly. And that's
No,
the
yeah.
point
That's
we're making.
Yeah.
Is it wrong to also then, I mean, I don't know, but like for me in cases where that, I would feel like I'm causing the problem. But also maybe because I'm a bigger sized man, that generally I've been raised on this idea of not trying to be a bother to anybody. Like I've been raised like, oh, get out of their way, or like get out of the aisle.
Or their personal space.
Yeah, right? And then sometimes it's just because I'm just bigger.
Well, let me ask you this actually. Have you ever felt where, okay, you're at a bus stop and it's just you and a woman and you're trying to make it so that you are not a threat to her?
Yeah.
Or so that she doesn't feel like you're a threat to her?
Yeah, I would do something really dumb and like sometimes if I really need to, like if I feel like if I'm
Are
in
we
my
going
zone.
to get another story of yours?
yes, what dumb thing did you do?
No, like if I'm in my zone, like hit headphones or whatever, I'll be fine. But then if I'm like doing nothing, I don't know, like just. I don't know, like I paint the sky in my head, like so it's kind of like I'm in my real zone, so like they don't feel like I'm like thinking about whatever for them or something. So I just make it like seem like okay, I'm really not in this area with you.
So to an extent, you kind of understand that is
a little bit
Female experience.
female experience.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to what I think Latya brought up about the whole connected world now, where I think a lot of us, even for the guys, see that too. We see that trend and we see that hurt. And maybe to go also, hopefully for Brandon and I, the good men in the bad sea. Sorry, saying that sounds weird. Saying that sounds so weird.
I'm glad he brought me into it instead of just like so I didn't have.
That sounds so weird saying it, but I think putting that into perspective too, it's kind of like then seeing that, and I think at least for me, I don't know how Brandon would see it, but like for me, I want to be able to be the protector, if that's the main role of a guy, right? Or like the original kind of thought process was that to be a protector, and I want to be able to stand up for that, or even like show myself in a way of like, okay, I'm not a threat, you know what I mean? And
Like doing something dumb.
yeah, doing something dumb, like I drop something, I trip, you know, like something like, oh, I'm not a threat, like I fall, like you know, I'm clumsy.
Actually, that's new to me.
And it's something I do, maybe that's just my anxiety. But I don't know, for me, I would see that, and I want to be able to be that. I want to be able to be that good, like exemplary guy in this area too. And so for me, I empathize, but I also get angry that, dang, like all these guys really are ruining an image of guys. You know what I mean? Like it hurts because I know as a man and as who I look up to my dad, where it's kind of like I want to be able to. I want to be able to have this image of like a good guy. I want to have not me being a good guy, but that men can be good and men are good, but some are just horrible. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like that image that I hope for us as well. It's kind of like painted really badly. And I think sadly by us men too. Yeah. So it's really frustrating in a way. Like it's like. I feel for you guys, but I feel for the guys. You know, what I mean? I feel for like the guys where it's like I want them to be good, but I know they're not. Yeah. Or I want them to be good, and I know they can be good. You know what I mean? And so I want you guys to also hope in that. Absolutely. But it's also kind of hard to see when you talk about statistics and see all that. Yeah.
But I think I also noticed that, like when you were talking, I had this other thought where, like, what if it's not like it's not just Bear and some random man, but if it's Bear and it's Titus, I would choose Titus because I know you. Yes. And if it's like Bear,
I don't know if we're surviving together, but yes.
We can fall together. But if it's like Bear versus like actually PD, I was like, thank the Lord. Even though he's just like, I don't know what to do either. Yeah. But I think like for me also, I know, and this is my experience as well, is that. I know guys in my life, including like my dad when he was alive. There are guys that are godly and guys that I can trust. But I mean, in the idea of like just some random guy picked from all of the guys in the world, I was like, no,
I guess so, yeah.
That's
true.
Yeah. I remember because when we talked about it, we were also like, oh yeah, there's polar bear, there's black bear, and then there's grizzly bear, and then it's like if you get a
Paddington.
Oh yeah, it's Paddington.
because if you get a black bear, then they're just gonna chill, right?
most
So
likely.
it's like 30%. So that's pretty.
Let's actually break it down.
See a
we did.
bear.
We did.
we did. And so I was like, that's kind of a better percentage. I feel like in my head to get like a 30% for girls. But like I feel like again, that's not the point of the question.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the stuff we talked about? I feel like we went everywhere.
We did.
I think it's safe to say we do not hate men.
No.
And that's not the perspective we're coming from. But perhaps we have been hurt by men, right? And it also doesn't mean that we've been healed as well.
Yeah.
But that does not mean we will be that naive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Pretty sure I still have my pepper spray somewhere.
Exactly. Example A.
I
I have pepper spray too, by the way.
I think I have it in my car.
Oh.
I also have a whistle.
Okay.
In the kit with the.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that's why actually like with Grab, Bluebird, and everything, they have this like safety feature.
Yeah.
Like tell someone check in when you
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I think also like about the naivety.
Naivety.
Yeah. That, I feel like I was talking to Pastor Tirza about that not too long ago, where I feel like in this conversation as well,
So
like for
weird
me,
hearing him call me
Pastor Tirza.
PT. For me, it's like I think there's also a part of me where it's kind of like in my hope for good men, or my hope of like even in my own limited experience of being a guy and being surrounded by even good men, like all the pastors and even my family. It's kind of like even in that, I feel like sometimes even from my perspective, the naivety of like, okay, I've seen good, and so I don't see. So seeing the bad in the world is also really hard for me to see. And I think that's also something that I'm trying to come to terms, and especially now as I'm going deeper into adulthood, it's kind of like I see more of that, and I see not only just for men but also for women to how ugly the world can be. But at the same time, I think there is still so much hope from my side to want that, to want a good person, to want a good man or woman that's out there. But I do for me at least, like in my perspective, putting it out there, like I feel like there is a bit of a naive Titus out in me, and it's kind of like everybody should be good, and I believe that. So a lot of my perspective when I answer things like this is also kind of like with that first and foremost, and then then I hear from you guys. It's like okay, I also get where you're trying to come from as well with that. Yeah.
No, I agree with that because for me as well, it's not even about about men and all these things. I especially when I get in conversation with my friends or my family, and they always tell me like, you should be super careful about this or super careful about like the police or something.
Yeah.
And well, I mean like there's truth and light to it, but then I also like to say to them like, maybe we should look for the best in people instead of the worst.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also what Titus is saying is like the naivety of me. But what if on the back end of that my reaction is actually a good person, then I act that way and then they're hurt. That's what I'm thinking. So a lot of times I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I don't want to say this is a good person complex or something, but I try to like, if you're gonna hurt me, then just hurt me, but I don't want to project that onto you. So
Glass is half full, huh?
I guess.
I think I would say for myself, I'm not speaking for all womankind.
Yeah.
Is I actually I go for the worst case scenario first, as in like, okay, let me assess the risk and what is the worst thing that can happen in this situation, and I understand like that. That's not coming at it with like, oh, that's the what is like, giving them the benefit of the doubt or like having hope that they're going to do the right thing. I think that's why my answer is the way it is. Like I do have hope, and I know that like there are people who are good because they have encountered Jesus. Yeah. But then I also know that there are people who are not. And I feel like my self-preservation is like, okay, where are all of the risks? And let me try to assess all of the risks and prepare for the worst ever case scenario. even though at some point in my heart there is hope from Jesus, but then there's like, let me assess all of these risks and let me prepare myself for the worst thing.
Yeah. I think also because when we talk about like naivete,
That is the word, naivete.
right? That is the thank you. Who's laughing? Okay, so when we talk about that, I know so many. Like I see it. I would consider myself a very optimistic person, right? At the same time, at the same time, I also know that with that there's a lot of danger, and when you try to see the best in people all the time, it is a good thing. But also, it does lead to getting taken advantage of, and it does lead to worst case scenarios that you would have initially not prepared for, right? And so I feel like the struggle is trying to balance a realistic point of view with the hope that we have, that we carry with us. Because when there is no hope, then it's not. That's not what you want. There's no life. There's no. It's just dead. But when it becomes like naivete, when it becomes like idealistic optimism, there's a bigger chance to get hurt, and there's a bigger chance to be taken advantage of.
That's true. That's for real.
Okay, we're actually, I think, out of time. But this is not like this is the conversation. We want to solve this.
Yeah.
And to an extent, there's nothing to solve. No. It's just wanting to have a place where a few good men. Actually, that's my favorite movie, A Few Good Men, starring Kevin Bacon and Tom Cruise and Demi Moore.
We're bad boys.
Dude. And us being able to share each other's experience and being able to hear, okay, that's what Titus thought about when faced with this conversation, and then you were also exposed to what our thought process was.
It's very eye-opening.
And our experiences. And so that's what I'm like, we're trying to invite people into. It's not to tell, who's right or who's wrong, but it's to invite others to have this kind of discussion too.
That's right.
Like, I'm hearing out and understanding other people's stories and where they're coming from and why they might answer differently to some of these polarizing questions. I can't believe like a TikTok thing could be that polarizing. But like, we want to invite you into conversations like this and having safe people who you can interact with and try to figure out the different experiences that kind of contribute to their understanding of life and for you to also think about your own experience. But thank you so much, friends, for being here.
Thanks for having
and
me.
for joining us in this very interesting conversation. And so if you have any comments, it's going to be interesting if there's any comments. If you have any comments or questions or ideas or other things for us to talk about, email takeabeat@ies.online. And so don't miss a beat. We'll see you guys next Take a Beat. Wow. Okay.